Hello, I am Sandra Lee with miracleinspirations.com and the Breathe Life's Inspirations blog. I have been doing a weekly video blog about your health on stress and what you can do. If you're interested in that, then go to miracleinspirations.com and subscribe, and I will send you the information. Today I am talking about Ask Me Anything About Food and Eating with a focus on food variety. Food is information. Food is frequency. Food is energy. And the tendency is to think that food is just food. If you're getting the basic nutrients you need, then that's really all you need to pay attention to. And I know I have been in a place myself at times where I eat pretty much the same foods all the time, over and over again. But actually, our bodies really benefit from having variety in our food. Talking about food variety today to bring this awareness in about the frequencies of the food that we're eating, the information that we receive from the food that we are eating. That we really benefit from having a variety of foods, a wide variety of foods that we expose our bodies to. If you think about when people were tribal people and hunter-gatherers, rather than cultivating our own food, we would have a wide variety of foods that we would consume at any given time. Much wider variety than a lot of people now have, even though we have an infinite variety of foods available to us through the grocery store. Most people actually tend to buy the same foods all the time and eat the same foods all the time. I don't know that many people do this, but I have known massage clients in the past where I talked to them about what they eat, and they would eat pretty much the same meals every day. For each of their meals, it'd be pretty much exactly the same foods, same ingredients that they were consuming every day. That's more sameness than most people probably have. Most people probably have at least a little bit more variety than that. But we might think that we are eating a variety of foods when really we are having versions of the same foods. So I'm going to talk about people who I'm assuming are already pretty much cooking their own food from basic ingredients rather than buying packaged foods. Because in my opinion, like I talked about when we talked about packaged foods a couple days ago, the food in packages is pretty much going to be dead. Canned food, frozen food, boxed food, it's been in there for a really long time, and so there's not going to be much viability, not much aliveness. There might be some nutritional value, but much less nutritional value than if those foods were fresh. So when having this food variety conversation, I'm going to assume that you are making your own foods. And we're going to look at like vegetables. So people think that they are eating vegetables at all, and that's certainly better than not eating vegetables. For some people, getting vegetables in any sort of quantity, no matter what they are, is a big improvement over what they might consume if they weren't making a special effort to make sure they got vegetables. So if you're not eating much vegetables at all, then getting any vegetables is going to be an improvement. But assuming you get to a point where you are like me, where you are eating a substantial amount of vegetable matter in any given meal, let's look at variety within that. So right now we are getting into summertime, and there's food available from the farmer's market, and so there's a wider than usual variety available to me than I would get like in the wintertime. In the wintertime, when I'm shopping at the store, there's a lot less options available, so the variety on my plate definitely goes down. I make an effort to increase the variety intentionally, knowing that it's important. But it's not going to be anywhere near the kind of variety that I have available to me right now. So if you look on my Facebook page, I posted just a couple minutes ago a picture of the meal that I ate 2 days ago, and I listed all of the ingredients, a large number of ingredients. Like I listed over 30 ingredients. It would be more if I counted all the individual ingredients in the spice that's on the chicken, but basically over 30 ingredients, with a large number of ingredients coming in food in vegetable variety, different types of vegetables that I was eating, all that in one meal. So it is not unusual for me to have the meal with that much variety. This is probably a little bit more than I might get on an average day, but you're looking at a pretty substantial variety of the frequencies, a variety of the information that I am receiving from all of those plants. And there's chicken and egg, there's just a wide variety of foods in that meal, frequencies, energies in that meal. When you eat a wide variety of foods, you're also going to get a variety of nutrients. So it's like looking at different plant foods. They grow and they pull nutrients up from the soil into the plant and into whatever part of the plant that you're going to be eating. The nutrients that we get from the plants is part of why we eat the plants in the first place, because we want the nutrients, the energy, the frequencies from them. We don't really think about that very often, right? Some people might be aware of, oh, I need to get this food because it has this vitamin or this mineral in it that I need. But when you eat a wide variety of plant foods, animal foods, they're all going to have slightly different nutrient profiles. And you need all of those nutrients. So just understanding that part of the value of getting nutrient variety, all the nutrients we need, part of that can be served by eating a variety of a variety of foods. Hi, thanks for joining me. So, have you heard of eating the rainbow? Where people talk about eating like a wide range of colors in your foods, in your plant foods. So getting some greens. So you can see on my meal that I had quite a bit of greens, right? Getting some yellows, some reds, some whites, some purples and blues, right? I don't always pay much attention to making sure I get the rainbow, and the blues and purples in particular can be kind of difficult to make sure to get. There are some people who recommend eating the rainbow every day, so putting special effort into making sure that they get all of those colors every day. So just looking at the spectrum of nutrients and energies that are available when you eat that rainbow of foods. I don't think there's anything more that I have to say about food variety. Oh, well, let's see. So variety of animal foods as well, right? So the nutrients that are available in eggs, for example, is going to be different from the nutrients that are going to be coming to me if I eat chicken or beef, right? So it's like slightly different nutrient profiles. And like I talked about yesterday when I was talking about, was that yesterday? Yesterday, I think it was, when I was talking about grass-fed versus factory farmed beef. Grass-fed beef has a nutrient available in it that might not be readily available in pretty much any source, and that's conjugated linoleic acid. So there might be reasons why I might want to have grass-fed beef sometimes and pastured chicken other times, and pastured pork other times, and eggs. So it's like shellfish, all these different foods, eating a variety of them, and gets me a variety of nutrients. One of the common nutrients that people choose to eat oysters for is zinc. Oysters are really, really high in zinc, and zinc is a mineral that many, many people are deficient in. And with what's been going on with the coronavirus right now, so like there is more than usual need for zinc, because zinc is really important for immune function. And you might have heard of people taking zinc lozenges for throat issues. So it's like understanding that you might choose different foods based on the nutrients that they in particular provide for you. There's tremendous amount of nutrients in eggs that are produced, pastured eggs, chickens that are able to get outside and eat bugs and worms and, get sunlight and not be exposed to all kinds of chemicals and stuff like that. So it's like pastured eggs, animals that are able to be outside eating their natural diet, right? Those kinds of eggs are going to provide a tremendous amount of nutritional value that might not necessarily be available in eggs coming from a factory farm or from other foods. So it's like if there are particular needs you have for choline, is one of the B vitamins that's really good source of choline is eggs, egg yolks in particular. So it's like just looking at the nutrient value and the energy value and the nutritional value of the difference between the egg yolk and the egg white. Tremendous amount of fat soluble vitamins and other things in the egg yolk. I don't really see much value in egg white because that's mostly just protein that doesn't have all of the other high quality nutrients that are available in egg yolks. So it's like finding ways to get egg yolks that are not necessarily cooked as well. So it's like the difference between a cooked egg and a raw egg. You have to make sure you have eggs that you trust don't have bacterial contamination in there. Like I wouldn't want to eat raw store-bought eggs raw. But we get our eggs from a farmer. And so I trust those eggs because I trust how he takes care of his chickens and that they're going to be healthy, and so they're not going to have salmonella or other kinds of bacterial contamination, right? Those eggs, I feel confident in taking the egg yolk from those eggs and using that to make my salad dressing, the Caesar dressing that I make, or mayonnaise, right? I make my own mayonnaise. Speaking of packaged foods, I haven't bought mayonnaise or salad dressing in forever, because I make them. It's really easy. Anyway, that requires a raw egg yolk. So knowing that I'm going to get a little bit of the nutrients from that egg yolk in the salad dressing that I put on my salad, right? So it's like it's giving me a little bit of these different foods and a variety of foods. You have any questions? You have any questions for me about, not necessarily just about food variety, but about anything else? So what else? Let's talk about raw versus cooked. In all my meals, for the most part, I like to have a combination of raw foods and cooked foods. So it's like raw vegetables. There's enzymes in raw vegetables that wind up not being available in cooked foods. So it's like when you take a raw food, there are enzymes in that food to help your body to digest the food. If you only eat cooked foods, then all the enzymes that were in that food to begin with have been killed, inactivated by the heat of cooking. And so having some cooked foods in your having some raw foods in your meals is valuable because it provides those enzymes and nutrients, right? So it's like some of the vitamins and some of the vitamins might be deactivated by cooking. And so having some raw vegetables leaves more of those vitamins intact. But there's also some value in having some cooked foods. Very rarely will I have an exclusively raw food meal. I know there are some people who choose to eat all raw. It's a lot of work, by the way. Having tried to do that a little bit, it's a lot of work. Okay, but when food gets cooked, then some of those, okay, we can talk about fermented foods. Some of those, the proteins and the connective tissue and things like that in the food get broken down by cooking. So there's some things that are more beneficial when they're cooked. So one of the things that is believed to have contributed to, as humans, evolved, assuming you believe in evolution, okay, that we went from beings that had smaller brains to having larger brains. And it is believed that the ability to kill animals and to cook the meat is part of what contributed to our ability to have larger brains and increased brain capacity. Because our ability to get more nutrients out of those animal foods partly came with the ability to cook them. And so to have that breakdown of the nutrients and the increased availability of some of those nutrients because it was cooked. Other foods, vegetable foods, some of which are better for us cooked, are like the broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, the brassicas. Okay, there are nutrients in brassicas that can impact our ability to have our health. So it's like they contain goitrogens. Brassicas contain goitrogens, which are substances that suppress thyroid function. So when I have brassicas, I mostly steam them. I might have small amounts raw, but I don't eat large amounts of like kale. Some people take kale and lots of raw greens and put them into smoothies. I did that at one point, but I stopped. Okay, because I found that it's better for me to have some of those greens be lightly steamed to deactivate some of the problematic substances in there. Another food, another vegetable that I mostly eat cooked, which a lot of people eat raw, is spinach. Because there's oxalates in spinach that can cause an accumulation of oxalates in the body and can contribute to kidney stones and just, oxalate crystal formation in the body and stuff like that. So I mostly cook spinach. I might have a small amount in a salad raw, but I mostly cook it, right? And that I know is something that a lot of people eat raw. And having too much accumulation of oxalates for some people causes health problems. So I'm also asked about fermented foods, and fermented foods are wonderful. That's another food variety thing that pretty much everyone can benefit from. So fermented foods are, you take a raw food and you let it, you put salt on it and you let it sit for a couple of days until the microbes, the bacteria, and the natural yeasts in the food start breaking the food down and making enzymes and nutrients. And so it's like you have an explosion of beneficial bacteria and organisms inside the fermented food, and you eat it. So several times I've talked a little bit about the microbiome. Right? So it's like the population of health-supporting bacteria, viruses, fungi in our bodies. We have bacteria, viruses, and fungi in our bodies that actually support our ability to be healthy. When the microbiome is in balance, it keeps any pathogenic bacteria or organisms under control and supports the health and proliferation of beneficials and supports our health. So it's like the bacteria in our digestive system help digest and break down our food, and they also provide beneficial nutrients, B vitamins, enzymes, all sorts of benefits that we get from the proliferation of these beneficial bacteria. So that's one reason why it is beneficial to consume fermented foods. I have them every day with our large meal. I always have a little pile of fermented foods. Now, I make my own. I make sauerkraut, meaning using cabbage and carrots. I put garlic and onions in there and grind them all, grate them all up in a food processor, and then mix them up with salt and pack them into jars. And when you do that, it releases the water from the vegetables, and I let it sit in a jar, covered up, for 3 days, maybe longer, depending on the time of year, how warm it is, right? Until it's fermented. Sauerkraut, yes, yum. And it's good for you. Slightly acidic because the process of fermenting creates lactic acid made by the lactobacillus bacteria that are in the air everywhere and on the vegetables and stuff like that. And so it goes in and causes our proliferation of the beneficial bacteria and makes them, nice sour taste. And it's really good for you. Some people use a mixture of bacteria that they specifically seed their fermented foods with. Personally, I choose not to do that. I just take the bacteria that are in the air, around, and on the vegetables that I get. I mostly try to make my fermented foods with vegetables that I got from a local farmer rather than from a grocery store. But in the winter, I might buy carrots, for example, a bag of organic carrots from the store. So I also ferment carrots by themselves with a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion, and usually some dill. Put that in there. But you can ferment all kinds of things. All kinds of things. I have never tried fermenting meat. I know it's possible, but I've never done that. Fermenting was developed as a way for people to preserve food. So it's like if in the summertime or the fall you have this huge amount of some food and people wanted to be able to have it last, be able to continue to feed them for many months after. So fermentation was one of the methods that people used to be able to preserve food and actually increase the nutritional value of that food. And so people used to do that with not just vegetables, but with meats. And, people used to, when they were making bread, they used to sprout the grains and then ferment them before cooking it into whatever bread, food, whatever it was that they were going to be making. So fermentation is terrific. It's easy to do. So there we go. Fermenting cauliflower. That sounds kind of interesting. I haven't tried that. People ferment milk. So yogurt is a fermented milk product. Kefir is fermented milk. And I used to make both of those. I haven't been lately, but used to do that. At one point I made my own pickles, but they didn't turn out very well. They weren't very crisp. So I haven't made pickles again. But I used to make kimchi, and I haven't made kimchi in a while, but I might get back into doing that again. So I used Napa cabbage and a mixture that's got garlic, ginger, and red pepper flakes and salt, and mix it all up together and ferment it, and really yummy. So thank you for coming on to Facebook Live today. Tomorrow I am talking about questions that Monica may have about meal spacing, and what I talked about meal spacing the other day. So we're going to talk about meal spacing and intermittent fasting and fasting. That's our topic for tomorrow. This is Sandra Lee with miracleinspirations.com and the Breathe Life's Inspirations blog, doing Facebook Live. Ask me anything about food and eating. So we've got a couple more days of this food and eating, and then I might continue Facebook Live talking about energy and healing. We will see. If there's not enough interest in continuing, I may just stop. We will see. But my 17 days of this sprint, publishing sprint, ends on the 13th. So after that, it'll be determined what happens based on how much interest there is. So thank you. Look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye. Breathe.